Could anyone imagine a black waitress being publicly humiliated in her own workplace, while her feared mafia boss husband silently watched every move, ready to strike? Elena Carter carried trays with precision, moving swiftly between tables in the crowded upscale restaurant, her calm demeanor hiding the storm she often faced from staff and patrons who judged her for the color of her skin. Robert Sinclair, the restaurant manager, spotted her from across the room, his eyes narrowing with disdain as he muttered under his breath about how someone like her didn't belong in a classy place. Elena ignored him, focusing on the orders and remembering every slight, every snide remark, every unfair assignment he had given her. Patrons whispered when she passed, some curious, some judgmental, yet unaware of the hidden power she carried with her presence and mind. At table 7, Lorenzo Rossi sipped his drink calmly, his sharp eyes tracking every movement of his wife while keeping his identity hidden, making a silent mental note of who dared disrespect her. Sinclair suddenly stepped forward, his hand gripping Elena's arm, and dragged her toward the bathroom, his voice loud, accusing, claiming she had messed up an order, and smirking at the attention he garnered from other staff and patrons. Elena's heart raced, but she kept her voice steady, her calm exterior masking her anger as she turned to see Lorenzo's gaze locked on her, a silent warning in his eyes that could shatter anyone who crossed her. Staff froze, unsure whether to intervene, while Elena silently measured her next words, aware that her actions now would determine how far she would allow the humiliation to go. In the bathroom, the door slammed shut behind them, the tension thick, and Elena's mind raced for a way to turn this around, knowing that the man watching from table 7 held the power to protect and to punish, and she would need to act smartly, quickly, and fearlessly. Every slight, every whisper, every glance of judgment mattered now, and Elena knew that she couldn't let Sinclair think he had the upper hand. She squared her shoulders, ready to respond, her mind sharp, her pride intact, and her courage unwavering as she prepared to show that respect must be earned, not demanded. If you respect Elena's strength, comment respect below and share this story with someone who needs inspiration. Elena's back pressed against the cold bathroom tiles, Robert Sinclair's grip tight on her arm, and the stench of arrogance filling the small space. She refused to let fear show, even as he sneered and blamed her for mistakes she hadn't made. "You think you belong here, don't you?" he spat, his words heavy with contempt, assuming his power could intimidate her, unaware that the storm he provoked had a name, Lorenzo Rossi. Elena's mind raced, calculating each second, each potential move, aware that the patrons outside, the staff watching, and most importantly the man at table 7 were all witnesses, even if silently. Lorenzo's eyes, cold and sharp, followed every step from across the room, his fingers tapping the glass in patience, sending a subtle warning through the air that could break anyone who ignored it. Sinclair's arrogance blinded him to the truth. Elena was more than a waitress. She was the woman who commanded the respect of a man who could destroy or protect with a mere nod, yet she moved like a shadow, silent but full of intent. She twisted slightly in his grip, speaking calmly, each word measured. "If you want respect here, you'll have to earn it, not steal it with fear." And his grip faltered, his anger simmering because he never expected defiance from someone he considered beneath him. The staff peeked in, unsure whether to intervene, their jaws tight, tension rippling through the room as Elena's quiet courage radiated stronger than any scream, any insult Sinclair could conjure. She noticed the judgmental stares, the disbelief, and she met them all with the fire in her eyes, silently challenging the racism and bias that had filled the room for decades. Lorenzo's calm presence seemed to stretch across the space, invisible yet felt, as though the very air whispered his patience and quiet power, sending a warning that made Sinclair sweat beneath his arrogance. Minutes stretched, every second waited, Elena's mind weaving strategies and contingencies, ready to turn the tables at any moment, knowing that justice often required intelligence, bravery, and timing. Finally, with a swift movement, a calculated tone, she forced Sinclair to step back, leaving her unscathed, while the staff stared in silent awe at her strength and composure. Across the restaurant, Lorenzo's smirk was subtle but deadly, a silent message that any disrespect toward Elena would be met with consequences no one dared imagine. The incident became a whisper, a ripple, a lesson for everyone in that establishment. Respect is commanded by courage, not fear, and Elena had shown both in full force. If you respect Elena's courage and intelligence, comment respect below and share this story to inspire others. Sinclair stumbled backward into the main restaurant floor, the weight of Elena's quiet defiance pressing heavier than any authority he thought he possessed, and the whispers of the staff made his arrogance feel suddenly fragile. Patrons had begun noticing the tension, some subtly pointing, others gripping their menus like shields, unaware of the dangerous undercurrent flowing from table 7, where Lorenzo Rossi sat like a silent predator, observing every heartbeat, every twitch, calculating the exact moment to act. Elena adjusted her apron, her posture steady, her eyes sharp, catching the flicker of fear in Sinclair's gaze, a rare crack in his armor, and she didn't hesitate to use it, speaking firmly so everyone could hear, "Your power doesn't scare me, Sinclair, and it never will." The air around them grew heavier, the restaurant staff frozen, torn between obedience to their manager and the undeniable presence of courage radiating from Elena, whose skin, background, and quiet dignity had been judged daily, yet now stood triumphant against open racism. Lorenzo's gaze was calm but deadly, a warning invisible to most, but felt deeply by anyone paying attention. A single nod from him could shift the balance of power in the room entirely, yet he let Elena handle the confrontation herself, understanding that true respect came from earning it, not forcing it. Sinclair, trembling with suppressed rage, tried to muster a response, but every word stumbled against the wall of confidence that Elena had built around herself over years of being underestimated. She moved toward the bar area, her steps deliberate, each one asserting dominance over a man who thought fear could bend reality, and the murmurs among patrons grew louder as the story unfolded before them. The black waitress everyone had doubted had just taken command of a room that had never seen her true strength. Elena's mind raced with strategies, anticipating Sinclair's moves while subtly communicating with the staff to remain calm and ready, ensuring no unnecessary escalation, because courage was intelligent, precise, and controlled. Meanwhile, Lorenzo's presence became more palpable, a shadow of power brushing every corner, a subtle intimidation felt in the pit of the stomach, yet unseen by those who didn't know better. His patience was legendary, and he waited silently for Elena to finish dismantling the illusion of Sinclair's authority, letting the lesson cement itself in the minds of everyone present. In a final, decisive moment, Sinclair froze, realizing he was powerless without support, and Elena's calm voice cut through, commanding respect without raising a hand. "This ends now. You owe respect to everyone in this room, not just the ones who bow to your arrogance." The silence after her words was deafening, broken only by the faint clinking of glasses and the collective intake of breath from staff and patrons alike. Lorenzo's subtle smile from table 7 was confirmation that justice had been served, not through fear or violence, but through courage, intelligence, and unwavering dignity. The message was clear: underestimate Elena Carter at your own peril, because the woman who commands respect does so not with threats, but with truth, strength, and honor. If you respect Elena's bravery and unwavering dignity, comment respect below and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that inspire courage. The tension in the restaurant was thick enough to cut with a knife, as Sinclair finally realized that his humiliation had reached a point from which he could not recover, and Elena stood in the center of the room, every inch of her posture radiating control, courage, and the quiet dignity that had always been underestimated. Patrons watched in awe as the black waitress, who had been judged, dismissed, and mocked, became the centerpiece of the moment, her calm authority silencing murmurs, whispers, and even the background music that tried to fill the void of attention. Lorenzo Rossi, sitting at table 7, remained impeccably still, his calculating eyes observing every reaction, ready to intervene if necessary, but knowing that Elena did not need protection to command respect. His presence alone was enough to tip the scales subtly, and yet he let her take the lead, proud of the woman who had stood by him with unwavering intelligence and strength. Sinclair's face was pale, a mixture of anger and realization, as he understood that his decades of arrogance, privilege, and the illusion of control had crumbled in front of witnesses who had underestimated the power of truth and bravery. Elena spoke slowly, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. Respect is earned, not demanded. Every person in this room deserves to be treated with dignity, no matter who they are, and you are no exception, Sinclair. The room fell silent again, every eye on Sinclair, who tried to regain composure but failed. His mouth opened and closed, his arguments falling flat against the wall of courage Elena had built. The staff, some shaking with relief, some wide-eyed at the sight of justice, began murmuring their agreement, and even Eric Dalton, the bartender, who had always been subtly racist and dismissive, found himself unable to speak, caught in the undeniable presence of truth. Lorenzo's eyes flicked to Elena, a small nod of pride, and she responded with a subtle smile, knowing he saw her not just as his wife, but as a force in her own right, fearless and intelligent, capable of dismantling prejudice with mere words and composure. The final moment came when Sinclair, defeated and exposed, slumped into a chair, powerless, while Elena's words resonated in the minds of everyone present. Courage, intelligence, and dignity were stronger than fear, authority, or prejudice, and the lesson would be remembered long after they left the restaurant. Patrons clapped quietly, some standing, others nodding, the respect for Elena now universal, undeniable, and permanent. Her quiet dignity had become a force that could not be ignored, a reminder to all that bravery was not loud, but precise, intelligent, and unwavering. Lorenzo stood, finally, signaling the end of the confrontation, and the room collectively exhaled, the weight of injustice lifted by the strength of one woman who refused to back down, who demanded respect through her actions and character, leaving everyone in the room changed, enlightened, and inspired. Elena's eyes met her husband's, a silent acknowledgement that together, respect, courage, and dignity could challenge even the most arrogant and prejudiced, and the story of that day would echo in their hearts forever, a triumph of intelligence over cruelty, of bravery over fear, and of truth over injustice. If you respect Elena's courage and unwavering dignity, comment respect below and subscribe for more stories that celebrate strength and justice.